This happened spring break about 4 years ago. My girlfriend Anissa wanted to do something low-key. She'd been talking about a cabin trip for months, just somewhere to disappear for a few days with no obligations. Her brother Hunter was on break from school and was staying with us at the time anyway, so he came too. I found a place online. It was pretty deep in the woods, which was the point, and it was cheaper than it had any right to be. I remember thinking that briefly and then not thinking about it again. We got there Friday night around dinner time. The place felt genuinely cut off. You couldn't see the road you'd driven on from the front porch, which I actually liked at the time. There was an outbuilding off to the side of the property, like a large shed which was padlocked. Hunter played with the lock for a second and said it looked new, like it had been swapped out recently. I said it was probably just the owner keeping equipment in there. We didn't really think much of it. It was getting dark, so we went inside and immediately started making dinner. That first night was fine. We had a few drinks on the porch and went to bed pretty early. I can't remember exactly when, but it started lightly raining at some point. The woods were really loud, which was a major surprise, at least to me. It was this constant wall of insects and frogs, and something about it was actually really calming. I do want to mention that at some point before falling asleep that night, I heard something bigger moving around out there, although I figured it was just a deer. I fell asleep not long after that. What woke me up was a sound like something hitting the side of the cabin. I don't know what time it was exactly, let's just say 2. I froze there in bed for a minute, wondering if what I heard was just part of my dream or not. Right when I was about to try falling back asleep, I heard another thump which sounded identical to the first one. I rolled over to see if Anissa was awake, but she wasn't. So it was up to me to investigate. I really didn't want to, but if there was a bear poking around out there, it would have been better to know about it than to not know. So I reluctantly got out of bed and grabbed one of our flashlights. I didn't want to go outside, but the outdoor visibility through the cabin windows was limited. Despite that, I noticed what appeared to be footsteps on the ground near the outbuilding, which was incredibly alarming. Those footprints could not have been ours because none of us had been outside the cabin after the rain had started, at least not to my knowledge. I reasoned that it was possible Hunter had gone out there without me realizing, so I figured I'd ask him in the morning. Still, I was pretty confident that he wouldn't have done that, which made the situation all the more eerie. The footprints didn't look like an animal's, although they were too far away to tell for sure, and if I had been unwilling to go outside earlier, there was absolutely no chance I was doing so after seeing what I saw. I made sure the place was locked up and went back to sleep. Unfortunately, the night was far from over. I woke up a few hours later to knocking on the front door, which is one of the most terrifying things I can imagine waking up to. Hearing that knocking meant there was a stranger out there, which actually got my heart going a little bit. It was just so late. I couldn't think of a good reason why someone would be knocking on a cabin door in the middle of nowhere at 4 a.m. The knocking woke up Anissa, who was about 10 times more scared than I was. I had to do something. So I walked over to the door. Before I could even announce myself, the person on the other side said he was a forest ranger and that there'd been some kind of incident in the area and he needed to do a welfare check. I paused a bit before responding, mostly out of fear, but it was obvious he already knew I was there. I told him we were all good and didn't need to be checked up on, saying I just wanted to get back to sleep. I thought that would do the trick, because he paused for a little while before saying anything. But then, instead of leaving, he said he'd need to ask us a few questions. I was instantly suspicious, and I was almost fully confident the person on the other side of the door was not any kind of law enforcement. At that point, Hunter had woken up too and was standing behind me. I whispered to him to call the police, saying I'd stall the guy at the door. I went back and forth with him, giving him nothing answers without telegraphing my suspicion. After a little back and forth, Hunter walked up to me and whispered that the police said no rangers had been dispatched to the area. That's what I suspected, but hearing Hunter actually vocalize it made my heart rate kick up again. I was scared and downright panicking at that point. It was 4 a.m. We were truly in the middle of nowhere, and some guy was banging on the door pretending to be a ranger. I don't know how, but it felt like the person on the porch could sense my fear, because he raised his voice and started banging on the door a little harder. I told the person I wasn't going to open up and I wasn't going to answer any questions, which only seemed to anger him. He started demanding I open the door, threatening to kick it down and telling me I'd be arrested for failure to comply. That's when Anissa screamed at him to go the fuck away, which only made things worse. He started kicking the door, and when it didn't give, he stomped around the cabin. I yelled at Anissa to go lock herself in the bathroom, which she did. Hunter and I grabbed some knives from the kitchen and just kind of tracked the guy's sounds around the cabin. I was beyond terrified, but I had no choice but to prepare for a fight. This guy meant us harm. This guy was trying to break into our cabin and kill us. Before I could react, one of the windows shattered into a million pieces. That guy had thrown a rock through it. I was ready for him to jump through, but he didn't. It was the tensest moment of my life. After what felt like forever, with Hunter and me just staring at a broken window, I heard police sirens approaching. I'll fast forward through this next part. The police searched the area, but miraculously, they couldn't find the guy. Hunter was furious. He was practically yelling at the officers that the freak had been on the property less than a minute before they arrived, so he had to be close by still. The officers said there was nothing they could do, and advised us to just pack up and leave. So that's exactly what we did. It's not like we had much of a choice. But Hunter wouldn't let go of how incompetent those officers were being. It was only after the fear and adrenaline wore off, and we were driving away, that I realized how truly insane what just happened was. For someone to even know about that cabin in the first place was so unlikely. It was like they planned it. And what they even wanted was a mystery in and of itself. All in all, it was an extremely uncomfortable and unsettling experience.